Well, hello. Hi, everyone. My name is Bibi la Luz Gonzalez. I'm from Guatemala. Guatemala is a small country in Central America, just below Mexico. If you've been here, right between you guys in the chat, and if not, I hope it will be sometime soon safe to travel so you can see this country. La luz means the light in Spanish, so I hope I can bring you some light in this wisdom journey to you guys. As Marcelo said, I am also a global shaper, and now I'm an alumni. I'm also leading some aspects here in the region with shapers, and I joined like 6 years ago, and I have many different work branches, or not even work, but really like main attention that I draw. The first is food security. So I work around food. So how are every aspect of food intertwined with our lives and other people's lives as well, the planet, and our value as well. So today's session, we're going to be talking about those three aspects. And so I will be sharing my screen. Let's see. All right.
Yeah, all good.
Yeah. So I wanted to have this session a bit more dynamic and more oriented to your senses. So yes, you're all in the teenage years where everything is full of emotions. Everything's like a wind whirl of emotions here and there, and you're having it tough right now because of so many different lockdowns and switching to virtual. So I appreciate your time here today. So today's session is called Your Tingly Intertwining on Food, Climate, and Value. So when you think about tingly, it's that feeling that you get that you don't know exactly what's going on, right? And then the intertwined part is that we are all like in a puzzle that we merge in a way. So before we start, I would love for you to get a sense of what brings you that tingly emotion in you, or not even emotion, but that sense of feeling, right? That you get here in your arms, your stomach, your brain, maybe you're smiling. So think of those, what causes those tingly moments in you. And then think back of where it came from and what you're going to do with those feelings. And maybe you can relate these feelings of what you just ate, of if it's cold, it's raining, with the climate that is there. Is it warm? Does that get you any tingly feeling? What about the humans or the animals or the ground, the earth, the wind that is nearby you? Who are you? Where are you right now? Are you in the house with someone? Are you all by yourself? Well, I hope you're not by yourself. Adult supervision, but how are all related to others? So, hi everyone, my name is Bibi. As I mentioned, I'm the founder of Eat Better Waik, or in Spanish, Come Mejor Waik. Waik, in Maya Quiche language spoken here in Guatemala, means to eat, with an interpretation of eating a healthy and nutritious meal. So I'll get more to that point, but if you want to know more, please follow me in Bibi la Luz and also Way E333 on our social media. So what does Way mean in being involved in having that tingly, intertwining feeling? First, in my case, it was since I was little, since I was 2, we moved to the city. And maybe it was the pollution, the different air or what that caused me to have like allergic reactions, asthma, and different types of negative aspects on my health with the environment, but also what I was eating. So that eating part made me understand that I had to eat extremely well or extremely better than the traditional food that we had available. I remember my mom's, my friends' moms, when I was kind of your age and even no less than your age, and that I used to go to their kids' birthday parties, and my mom had to bring, give me the special meals that I had to eat because I couldn't eat the terrible food that is given to children. All of that made me incredibly sick. And then I still have, this allergy on my skin that used to burst whenever I had sugar, oil, artificial, crappy food, right? So that option for me of eating correctly wasn't an option, but it was a must, right? And still, I had lagging health issues even now when I was older. And my mom breastfed me until I was, in a late stage. So we don't really know exactly what happened there. But the fact is that in my daily life, I was like a nutritionist. But in school, I didn't do great at science. I was terrible, but I was super great in history, geography, sports, and languages as well. I traveled all around the world, so lived half of my life here in Guatemala and then the other one abroad. So I kind of understood the different food cultures that we had and how each one of them blended in my life. So eventually at school, I really focused on those social aspects, and then eventually did university studies in political economy, international studies, and economic development, where I found the term of food security, food sovereignty, and access to food. If you want to read more on this, please do read the Nobel Prize laureate Amartya Sen on this. It's really insightful. And then another part of poor economics, a radical perspective on global issues. That is also from two now economics, laureates of the Nobel Prize, Esther Duflo and Abhijit Banerjee. Please do read on that, where they spoke about different ways of approaching development issues. And well, through Amartya Sen, I found that my day-to-day activities on food could be related to the topics that I was studying. And I don't know about if you would like to have a family or you have younger siblings. There was a trigger that made me want to speak up and then create my own movement and then organization. So there was a mother who was feeding that orange soda to her baby in a bottle. Surprised, I came to her and I asked her why she preferred soda over milk. Then she replied, because soda is more expensive than milk. So there is an understanding or a misconception that if something is more expensive, then it must be better. And you might think of this as well, but then it's a twisted logic. Then we found out that the mother didn't value herself enough as a woman for her breast milk to be enough and sufficiently good for her baby. So these misconceptions around food and the whole aspect of what we call the food system is just misleading, and we need to take back control with our decisions, with the information that we have around. So in 2015, I created this organization called Eat Better, Way. And then it went a bit more with more activities in 2016. So if you want to take part, for example, take a look at the Sustainable Development Goals. So that's me on the right with the SDG 2, which is zero hunger and reducing all forms of malnutrition. So that word is specifically important because with WAIC, we generate food awareness and action to reduce malnutrition. Malnutrition implies a variety of aspects, which there are two undernourishments, which is stunting, then you have wasting, and then you have the other part, which is obesity and overweight, and then the triple burden of malnutrition comes together with the diseases that come from what you eat. So for example, this can be cancer, diabetes, anemia, heart problem, heart failure, and hypertension. So really do look back on why you are eating food. Of course, we all need food, but why do you choose specifically that one? And we'll touch upon this later. And just to fast forward from 2015 until today, it has been years and years of trying to understand the problem and then shape a solution that goes a bit more oriented to engage people. So in that sense, with the experience acquired throughout the years, including multiple aspects that Global Shapers has brought into going to these conferences, learning, speaking and exchanging ideas, and then analyzing and putting them back in the territory where you're at, it really comes into a full circle. So I also worked at the World Food Program here in Guatemala, where I learned a bit more about how food is related to climate and gender. There was a great conference that we went with a delegation of Shapers, Global Climate Action Summit, where there was a fantastic session with Alec Baldwin and Jane Goodall on climate and food, and I was just mind blown. And it's really, I mean, do you really need celebrities to be talking about this issue for you to engage in them? Yes and no. I mean, yes, they're a great way to exemplify the problem and some solutions as well, but then you are also a big part of those who are either consuming food, producing food. Everyone is a consumer, but not everyone is a producer, right? But you have that decision. And then you are also, there are individuals are the people behind big institutions. If you want to make changes in public policy, corporate policies, even media, they're not robots. I mean, we are there. So if we understand and grasp the situation internally, we can make it even more valuable externally. So years later, 6 years later, after founding WAIC, we just got this great recognition from a list called the 50 Next, which is the inaugural list of the world's 50 best restaurants that recognize youth under 35 that are shaping the future of gastronomy. And gastronomy is super diverse. I am not a chef, but I do work in food. And you just get these recognitions of the thoughts and ideas that you have that are really worth it. And then they ignite you to keep following through. And really having those people who connect with you as well. So as I was telling you, we try to reduce malnutrition with creative and inclusive ways, merging together education, economics, transformative agriculture, consumption, and technology. And something that I really want to highlight with you is that I did not study nutrition. I didn't study technology. Consumption a bit because I did focus on societal issues. Agriculture, I was not even involved in agriculture when I was your age. But then I understood how everything goes back to the land, to the soil, if you talk about food. With economics, yes, I majored in that. And then I found that through education, it's different ways of you educating in different ways. It's not just giving a class, but it's, for example, providing a product, for example, that can exemplify what you're trying to bring out. And this drawing that I'm showing you here was done by a sixth grader in 2015 that pictured what Waik was for him. And you can see the color, you can see that the great drawings, even the letters are super clear. And this was a student who had breakfast. We then did the same exercises with students who didn't have breakfast, and their drawings were gray, not much attention to detail. So it's a really interesting part is how you start your day early in the morning and what you're eating as well. So with that point, it's for you also to connect the dots, as Gulnaz was saying before, that you don't necessarily end up where you specifically studied. Although I am using so many things that I studied for, but found that I could connect my personal experience and even issues with what I was studying. You just need to open your mind a little bit more about that. So these are the words that I would like to highlight for you. What do you understand when you think about better? When I say these types of changes of last year that we wanted change, then we got a change, right? The change came to us. But if we don't improve when those changes are there, what is there left? Being different. Don't try to blend or try to fit in just because cool people are here or there. Being different is actually a super great asset. And something that I say, what better way to make a difference than being different? And also bring that authenticity with you. Don't try to be like someone else. I mean, if you are authentic, you're going to stand out of the crowd. And that is what you need also to get that attention. But don't get attention just for your own ego. No, if you want to pursue something transformative, well then have that for a social impact. Make that authenticity, being different, to improve social impact. And also about connecting the dots. You're going to meet so many people throughout your time that would be your serendipity story. And also, if you're going to collaborate with people, try to make it transparent. You have so much corruption in the world that it will be terrible for you to end up being irresponsible leaders and being corrupt. If we're going to talk bluntly, these things are the things that are corroding our societies. So before I jump to the next slide, I wanted you to see my face and also recognize what aspects you can improve in your life, in your family's life, and what you also consume because when you consume something, you are consenting to the practices that are behind that. And try to be creative in how you can merge different parts. So what I would love for you to take home, or at least if you want it, you can do it now. You can either draw or make a poem of your next preferred meal. Considering, right, that you have a limited budget, your likings, your preferences and taste, but also what is good for your health. And not only yours, but your family's health as well. Think about a map. Map out the routes that your food has taken. Think of what you have today, right? Where it came from, the origin, how you are behaving right now that you have that. And then what would happen to the food, for example, that you're not going to eat. Think about those imbalances as well, those disparities or even inequalities that exist in the world, and how and who you will impact. Think as well of the most bizarre relation you can think of with food, climate, and human rights or human value. Bring that creativity part. And how everything goes beyond just food. As Marcelo mentioned, the topic of the session was politics and economics, so political economy in a way. Everything has a sense of being participative in these topics that maybe we just see far off, but actually food is very political and economical as well. You can see the world moving around food production, and with that you have different countries that are called kind of like the providers of food, specifically when it comes to agricultural commodities, which commodities are like staple foods or ingredients that go into something. In Guatemala, for example, there are many monocultures, which is, land that is just being used for one product specifically. For example, it can be sugar, sugar cane. It can be coffee as well, and palm oil too. With palm oil and sugar, for example, the main problem is that to have land, companies are deforesting in order to have those crops. So you all know what happens when you cut down trees, right? So it's, and the good thing about coffee is that it grows on shade. So what brings shade is also full of trees. But also, for example, the land degradation from those monocultures, and also the land that is being held for cattle, and then those monocultures that feed the cattle, right? Like cows. So there are different ways of reducing the impact of emissions of the food that we eat. But then that all goes in, for example, international treaties, that goes into decrees that are, for example, Parliament or Congress approves. You also have, for example, that trade of these exports and imports, and then affects, of course, the economy of your country. But then when you study political economy, they tell you the first thing is that in this world, there are winners and losers. So how we can make it more equitable, that the disparities of winners and losers aren't so big, and that people, companies really integrate people's perspective in all of this. And with different entities, they speak about public corporate or corporate-public collaboration or cooperation. So for that to be transparent and good enough for people and good enough for the planet. So let me just share back my screen for you to have what I just mentioned. Do follow up in this. And if you draw or make a poem, please post it on social media. Tag, of course, NEOWAY and us in Bibi la Luz and Way E333. We want to know what you're thinking about how you are involved in the whole food system. Because something that you would like to know is that you are the generation that now is taking the lead in decision making, because you are coming in now. You're not necessarily the future, but you're the very near future, if not present, of multiple decision making platforms or even companies and policies. So really, where are you at in all of this? You can write a poem, draw it something. Where do you map your food, and your involvement too? So do you think of that? Ponder a little bit, and follow us and tag us there where I mentioned. And something that I want to finish this session with is, being that creative part of issues that are very serious, but then that you naturalize it in your day-to-day. So for example, I have two nieces. One of them is a pre-teenager, and with her, it's been great how she got involved in art issues too. I mean, getting your hands dirty and being participative in this, but also how it's great to intertwine, for example, science with food. As I mentioned, when I was your age, I was not good at science at all. And then just understanding a bit of how, chemistry and physics work with food. And also that I learned from an organization in the US, how they mix these things in order to be really hands-on when you talk about food and engage kids and teens like you. It's just impressive how science can just have that effect in being so interesting. And also, please think of what you had for breakfast today. The last thing that I wanted to share, with being a bit more personal, I went out for a walk this morning, about an hour and a half or so, and then I just got this fantastic urge to listen to one of those songs when I was in school, just like you. And it was a song from Korn, which is like a heavy rock or alternative rock, and it's just brought me back to the times of school. And also how, your personal feelings and even, for example, music can bring that difference in you. For example, today I am specifically wearing this shirt and says, "I'm not a princess, I'm a rock star." So when I was in school, I mean, my favorite bands were rock bands, not necessarily pop or whatever. So bring that authenticity there with you. Don't hide it, explore it. And then when you finish school, for example, I have no idea how many years I finished school, but then take, for example, 15, 20 years after and see what brings you back to that. But really that authenticity part in your creative and being different is a great value. So thank you so much.